Hi everyone and welcome to the channel. Today we're going to be looking at detailing surfaces. I'm going to show you how to use the path link array to create rivets and also the projection to project faces upon your object to allow you to create a union between those, adding some simple detail to your models. This has been requested from a patron, so we're going to start off with a planar surface first, then move to non-planar and show you how to use the path array tools, and then use patron's model to create those details upon there. So I hope you enjoy those videos. Let's have a look how we would create this. If you like what you see and you want to donate to the channel, then you can do so via Ko-Fi or Ko-Fi at ko-fi.com/MANG0 or via PayPal at paypal.com/paypalme/DarrenBEstone. I also run a Patreon where you can get early access and additional content, and that's at patreon.com/mangoJellySolutions. Links can be found in the channel header, on the About page, or in the descriptions of these videos. So when you've created a new model, you may want to add some detail into the surface. Along the edges, you can see the detailing of rivet holes. These are just standard circles that have been extracted out of the surface. You also see we have some other detailing at the corners. Let's concentrate on the rivet holes to figure out how we would do this. To create detail on a planar surface such as this is quite straightforward. Basically what we have here is a model created in the part workbench. The model consists of an extrude from a simple rectangle. This creates the surface. We also create a sketch of the rivet. Notice where this is placed. It's a simple circle. It's placed off center of the sketch. That sketch is then extruded. And if we look, it's extruded symmetrical from that sketch. Click on the extrude and look down. We have a length forward of 3 mm, and the symmetrical is set to true. This means that when we create a path array, I will go through the steps of doing this in a moment, of that extrude, then that path array will sit embedded into the extrude at 1.5 mm. The path array moves the sketch to the edge that we've selected or the path we've selected. In this case, I've selected this path, which is this edge. The extrude is moved and then arrayed across that edge. If we look at the original extrude and hide surface and the path array, and we click on it and go right click transform, you can see where the point transformation or rotation is placed here. And this originated from that sketch. So this point is placed along the path that we selected. So this path here. With the path array, we have additional offsets, the end offset and the start offset, that we can move the path array back from here and have total control over the start and end position. Once we're happy with the rivet position, then we can take the path array and use it as a cut by selecting the extrude, control selecting the path array, and using the cut. This will create a cut. With the rivets inside. The trouble comes when we use a non-planar surface. So here you can see I've set up one with a curved surface, non-planar surface. And we can see the projection of each of these holes is correct and tangent to this surface. We go through the same process of creating these with the path array. And what I'm going to do is recreate this so we can follow the process of how you would do this with your models. First of all, I'm going to create a new document. I'm going to create a sketch in the part workbench along the XZ plane. Now I've got the sketch. I'm going to use create an arc by 3 points and create a simple arc. Let's do the same for the inside, and then use a line to close the shape to create a simple solid. Let's close that, click on the sketch, and use the extrude. We'll extrude it to about 50 millimeters and hit enter. So we've got this arc shape, this arc surface. I want to place rivets along this edge here. So the process for doing this is, first of all, I'm going to hide the extrude by pressing the space bar after selecting it from the tree view, and then I'm going to create a sketch along the XY plane and hit OK. The reason why I've hidden the extrude is because it's going to get in the way. But you can see how that's going to be aligned. So my circle that I'm going to create for this, my circular sketch, and I'm going to follow this axis here, create my sketch upon, as I want to follow this edge. Let's click on the extrude, press the spacebar, click on top. So now I want to create the circle. I'm going to use the circle. I'm going to attach it to the center point and create a circle. I'm not going to use any constraints in here. Just going to move through this quickly. This is all about the technique. Let's come over to the task and hit close. So I've got a simple circle in the 3D view. Let's take the circle, the sketch for the circle, and we'll extrude this. I'm just going to set this to 2 millimeters along and hit OK. So we've got the extrude and we've got the surface as well. Now that 2 millimeters might be a bit too thick, and I'm not sure about the height of this because I haven't set it with any constraints or anything. We'll go for that for the time being. Now I've created a number of mistakes in here already, just to show you about placement and how this will be attached to this edge. So we've got the surface. The surface that I want to place detail upon, and also I've got the extrude. I'm going to right click and rename that. This is the rivet. To place this correctly along this arc and have the projection of the cut tangent to this surface, we're going to use the path link array. That's available over in the draft workbench. So I'm in the draft workbench now. We take the rivet and then control select the edge that we want. So I want to select this edge here. Go to modifications, array tools, and path link array. You can see how they've been placed. They're not tangent to that surface, and also we need to push this over to the left here. So let's change to the line mode of the path array. Click on the path array. We have a number of options on the data tab. We look down in alignment, we have this line here. At the moment it's set to false. Drop this down, I can set this to true. And we've got different types of align modes here. We have original. Bring this around, we can see what's happening. And we have Renee. And also we have tangent. And that places tangent to that edge. So you can see how that's sitting on that edge. And it's in line with the normals of the surface. But it's not embedded into that surface because we need to make a cut between this path array and this surface. To embed it into that surface, if we go back to the path array and look at the original rivet, we can see the extrusion is length forward of 2 millimeters. So it's extruded from the sketch straight upwards. What we want to do is instead use the symmetry here. If I set that to true, it will extrude 2 millimeters from the center. Click off. You see that we've gone from the center 1 millimeter forward and 1 millimeter backwards. So we get that tangency, and also we're embedded into that object there. We now need to move this slightly this way. If I look at the path array, we've got some extra translation here. So I come into this, I can translate along the Y, allowing us to offset this from the edge. So I'm going to set this to about 3 millimeters. Now we need to offset start and the end objects. So go into the path array. So if I look down, we can see the start offset. Set this to 3 and the end offset. I'll set this one to 3 as well. We've moved that away 3 millimeters from the edge. Also note we have something called false vertical, and this is handy for more complex curves. And we'll come to that one in a moment when we look at one of the Patreon's models. Once we've got the array that we need, and I'm just going to add some more to this. So I'm going to modify this to say 12. Then I can take the one I want to keep, which is the surface. Control click the one I want to remove. Now it's important to control click from the view, the tree view, and then we need to be in the part workbench. And I can create a cut. So now I've created the rivets that I need into that surface, following the tangency of that surface. Now if we picked a model with more complex curves, such as this model, which is the model that the patron has requested this video for, then I'm going to be looking at something like this curve here to create rivets across. And you notice it's a B-spline curve. Now we can create the path against this curve, or we could abstract it out with something like a subshape binder. So first of all, let's go through the same process. I'm going to create the rivet along this top plane, this one here. Actually the rear plane, but that's fine. Create a new sketch along the XY plane, have nothing selected. This will flip this around. And I'm placing it upon this plane to show you how to use the false vertical option. Use the section view, and we'll place a circle for the rivet. Close that, and the circle is sitting there. We'll take that sketch, already been selected, use the extrude, and we'll set this to something like 2 millimeters, and OK that. Be wary of the thickness of the walls. We must make sure that we get a nice thickness in the wall because we're actually removing material away from this. Let's come over to the part design. I'm going to extract out that curve. Don't have to do this. We can use the edge if we wanted to, but I'm just going to take that edge and use the subshape binder. But look now over in the model, we have the binder here. I'll use that with my array. Let's come over to the draft workbench and then take the extrude, control select the binder using the tree view, modifications, array, and part link array. Because we created the sketch on this plane, you notice the vertical of these objects is straight up. So we've got some modifications to making that path array. So let's select the path array and have a look and see what we have. First of all, the alignment. Set this to true. Line mode, it's already started to align. We'll make that tangent. So it's tangent, it follows that edge. You see how it's following that edge there. Let's increase that, say 8. You can see how that's following that edge there. But we need to use the false vertical. Take the path array, false vertical, so that's true, and click off. That's now forced the vertical of that. We can see we still got a few issues here. So with the false vertical, if it's not correct, we can play with the vertical vector. So I can change these. And that's 0 off the Z. And place 1 along the X. You can see that's been placed upon the X. Zero off the X. Put 1 on the Y. See how that's changed. And the Z. 0 off the Y. Place 1 upon the Z. So we have a bit of an issue with this one. And again, remember that we can come into the path array and come down, look at the span array and set that to true. That spans the array out. Click off. Open up the path array. Now we've got each of the items that we can affect individually. I can right click and transform this one if I wanted to. But I'm just going to set that back. Span array. False. I need to set the offset. The end offset, I set that to 3mm. Let's pull that back. I may want to pull it back a bit more. I don't want it on this part here. Set that to 4. A bit more. And we want the start offset as well. We've got those going along there. And again, extra translation. Depending where we want this to be placed. Something like 8. There we go. That's in there. But it's not actually touching that surface, as you can see. So the extrude symmetrical is false at the moment. So let's set that to true. That's embedded in. We have to be careful to make sure it doesn't come out the bottom. So there needs to be a bit more tweaking of the variables to allow this to align properly. There's a 1mm extrusion there, but you can see it's not totally right. There is still some problems because we've used the translation. It's not tangent correctly to this surface because we got curvature this way as well as curvature this way. There is a way around this. We can actually create these as faces against this. We can't use a projection because we've projected this whole item. It will be stretched across here. We could use a common. So what that does, if I come over to the part workbench, if I take the path array, remember to select them from the tree view to select them all, and the cut, and use a common, you can see we've got a tick by the common. If I hit refresh, that'll bring that back. Then what we've got is basically a number of faces that are in line with that surface. So if I look back at the cut, so the cut that was created, that's going to the common, be much easier. We've got the path array and the cut, and bring back the cut. What we got now is we've got a common that is in line with that surface. And we can combine those back in, take those two, and if I combine them back in, and this is just temporary union, what we got is individual faces here. And we know they're in line because if I took that fusion and do a refine, set this to true, they will disappear. I click off and we'll wait for this to recompute. You can see they've disappeared. So those are in line with that face. I'm just going to come into the Fusion, hit delete, because we don't need to fuse it. This common is visible as well as the cut underneath. What I need to do is extrude the faces of the common along their vector to allow to remove this so we don't get any weird angles in our rivets. I'm going to hide the cut. And in the draft workbench, we have a face binder tool, this one here. So let's make sure nothing's selected. I'm going to take all those faces Control select them. So just the top faces of that common. And we'll use the face binder tool. Also available from drafting and face binder. The face binder has been added. We need to hide the common because they're still available. Spacebar. So now what we've got is just the face of each of those circles there. You can see this one is slightly out. We should have used a transform to align that with the surface. We'll go with this for the time being. With the face binder, it has an options for extrusion. So I can extrude out by 1 millimeter. So that extrudes out along the normals of each of those parts. We couldn't use a simple extrude for that. We couldn't actually extrude the common or that face binder with a part extrude. So those are nicely extruded in the correct vector by 1 millimeter. We've got this offset. So I'm going to offset this inwards by minus 0.5. Let's move those inwards now. So if I bring back the cut, they sit on top of that cut. And now if I take the one I want to keep, which is the cut, select it there, control click face binder. We need to be over in the part. And now we create our cut. We get a nice cut of our rivets going through the object. So created the detail that we want. With this object, I would cut this in two because we've got symmetry going across here, do the rivets across one side, and then create a mirror going across the other. That's quite easy to do because we create a plane and use the split, the part, split, and then slice apart. So plane through the center and slice these apart, create the rivets, and then mirror this across. So that's for the rivets. We can use the same process for other details, but another way of creating detail upon here is to use a projection, this one here. And that allows me to create, say, a sketch. And we're going to place a sketch along the ZY plane. So new sketch, making sure nothing's selected first, along the ZY plane. And OK that. And we'll just do a section view. I'll create something simple in here. Let's say something like this. So I'll close that now. What you'll see is that we've got a sketch inside, which I'm going to transform. Using the placement, using the position, transform it along the x-axis. And we'll move this to the side that we want to transfer the sketch to the surface. I'm going to use a projection for that. So I've got this sketch here. Now this part, I'm going to press the space bar just to hide it. So that's hidden now. And I can transform this sketch by using the placement into the position that I want. About here. And we'll get an idea of where we're going to place it by moving the camera. So I'm happy with that. Take the sketch, come up to the part, and I want to make face from the wires. So I created the face from the wires there. One object. And I'm going to project that onto this surface. So make sure nothing's selected and use this tool here. Create projection. Or part. Create projection on surface. First of all, we select the projection surface. Select the button, see it's depressed, and we select the surface that we want to project on. That is now selected now. Now we'll click Add Face. And we can select the face that we want to add. So we just add the one to start with. Now we want to get the camera angle. This will project that face in alignment with that camera angle. So if I did it here, all we get is this part cut off by this edge. So I'm looking for something like this. Once I'm happy, I can get current camera direction. Click that. And what's happened behind is that we've added that projection upon there. Let's OK that. And if I look down, we've got a projection now. That's on that surface, which I can create some height with. I can set this to say 5. And that extrudes that out from that surface. Let's set it to 1. And now we've got that feature upon there. I can union that back in to the object. Let's repeat the process with this face here. Make sure nothing's selected. Use the tool. Select projection surface. Select the projection surface. Add the face. Select the face that we want. Now we can control select faces if we wanted to. So we can select both of those. And now for the projection. Let's go here. Get current camera direction. And now we've placed that on that face. OK that. Let's hide this face. Press the spacebar. And also the sketch within. Take the second projection and set the height to 1mm. Don't want this one. Press the spacebar on that just to get rid of it. And we can union projection in, take in the cut, control click in the projection, see them highlighted in the tree view, and use the union. Our final fusion. We have the rivets and some detailing on the side. So I hope that's helped with creating details on complex surfaces like non-planar surfaces, give you an idea of how to use projection, and also how to use the draft array tool for the path link array. Hope that's helped, and I hope to see you in the next video. If you like what you see and you want to donate to the channel, then you can do so via Ko-Fi or Ko-Fi at ko-fi.com/MANG0 or via PayPal at paypal.com/PayPalMe/DarrenBEstone. I also run a Patreon where you can get early access and additional content, and that's at patreon.com/MangoJellySolutions. Links can be found in the channel header, on the About page, or in the descriptions of these videos. I thank everybody that's donated so far. It really helps to keep the lights on so I can produce more content and also expand the channel. Thank you for liking, commenting and subscribing to these videos, and I hope to see you again in the next one.